The Olympiastadion in Berlin was the setting for West Germany's opening match against Chile.
1,000 people paid over £200,000 to see it, the greatest soccer game ever played in these islands.
Goals, which is more than a string of such games did in the 60s and 70s. Originally, the host nation had set the World Cup ball rolling.
Every FIFA World Cup begins the same way, with one goal that officially starts the tournament. Before the trophies, the legends, and the unforgettable finals, there is always a first strike that sets the competition in motion. These opening goals were scored by different players in different host nations and under very different circumstances. Together, they form a unique timeline that marks the true beginning of every World Cup in football history. These are 21 goals that opened every FIFA World Cup, from the first tournament in 1930 to the latest edition held in 2022. Each of these goals was scored in the host nation on a specific opening day and marked the official beginning of a tournament that would eventually crown a world champion. The journey begins on the 13th of July 1930 in Uruguay, the host of the very first FIFA World Cup. France's Lucien Laurent scored against Mexico in the 19th minute, recording the first goal in World Cup history, as the tournament later concluded with Uruguay lifting the trophy. The next opening moment arrived on the 27th of May 1934, when Italy hosted the World Cup. Argentina's Ernesto Belis scored against Sweden, producing the earliest goal of the 1934 World Cup, which set the stage for a competition that ended with Italy winning their first World Cup. On the 4th of June 1938, the World Cup kicked off in France. Germany's Josef Gauchel scored against Switzerland in the tournament's first match, beginning a competition that ultimately finished with Italy defending their title. After a 12-year absence due to the World War II, football's biggest tournament returned on the 24th of June 1950, hosted by Brazil. Ademir scored against Mexico in the hosts' opening match, launching a World Cup that concluded with Uruguay emerging as champions for the second time. The 1954 World Cup began on the 16th of June 1954 in Switzerland. Yugoslavia's Miloš Milutinović scored against France, opening the group stage of a tournament remembered for attacking football, one that ended with West Germany winning their first World Cup. On the 8th of June 1958, the World Cup opened in Sweden. Argentina's Oreste Corbatta scored against West Germany early in the group matches, as the tournament built toward Brazil's first ever World Cup triumph. Chile hosted the 1962 World Cup, which kicked off on the 30th of May 1962. Héctor Facundo scored for Argentina against Bulgaria, opening a competition that concluded with Brazil successfully defending their title. On the 11th of July 1966, the World Cup began in England. Pelé scored for Brazil against Bulgaria in the opening stages. Yet the tournament itself ended with England winning their first and only World Cup. The opening goal of the 1970 World Cup came on May 31 in Mexico. Bulgaria's Dinko Dermendzhiev scored against Peru, beginning a tournament that would finish with Brazil lifting their third World Cup. The 1974 World Cup started on June 13, hosted by West Germany. After an opening match ended scoreless, Paul Breitner scored against Chile, setting momentum for a tournament that concluded with West Germany winning the title at home. On the 1st of June 1978, the World Cup opened in Argentina. France's Bernard Lacombe scored against Italy very early in the second match of the tournament, which eventually ended with Argentina claiming their first World Cup. In 1982, the World Cup moved to Spain and kicked off on June 13. Belgium's Erwin Vandenbergh scored the only goal against Argentina in the opener, beginning a tournament that finished with Italy winning their third World Cup. On the 31st of May 1986, the World Cup returned to Mexico. Italy's Alessandro Altobelli scored against Bulgaria, opening a competition remembered for individual brilliance of Diego Maradona and ending with Argentina crowned champions. One of the most famous opening goals came on the 8th of June 1990 in Italy. Cameroon's François Omam-Biyik scored against Argentina, launching a tournament that ended with West Germany winning their third World Cup. For the first time, the United States of America hosted the World Cup, which began on the 17th of June, 1994. Germany's Jürgen Klinsmann scored against Bolivia, opening a tournament that concluded with Brazil winning their fourth World Cup. On the 10th of June 1998, the World Cup opened in France. César Sampaio scored for Brazil against Scotland in the 5th minute, beginning a tournament that ended with France winning their first World Cup on home soil with brilliant performance from Zinedine Zidane against Brazil. The opening goal of the 2002 World Cup arrived on the 31st of May 2002, hosted jointly by South Korea and Japan. Papa Bouba Diop scored for Senegal against France, an upset in World Cup history as defending champion France could not qualify from group stage. The competition concluded with Brazil lifting their 5th World Cup. On the 9th of June 2006, the World Cup opened in Germany. Philipp Lahm scored against Costa Rica, beginning a tournament that ended with Italy claiming their 4th World Cup title. The World Cup travelled to Africa for the first time and was hosted by South Africa. It began on the 11th of June 2010. Sifiwe Tshabalala scored against Mexico, with one of the most memorable celebrations in World Cup history. The competition concluded with Spain winning their first World Cup. On the 12th of June 2014, the World Cup kicked off in Brazil. An own goal by Marcelo against Croatia opened the tournament, which later ended with Germany winning their 4th World Cup. The 2018 World Cup started on the 14th of June 2018, hosted by Russia. Yuri Gazinski scored against Saudi Arabia, launching a tournament that finished with France securing their 2nd World Cup with a brilliant performance from Kylian Mbappé. Finally, on the 20th of November 2022, the World Cup opened in Qatar. Enner Valencia scored a penalty for Ecuador against the hosts, beginning a tournament that concluded with Lionel Messi leading Argentina to glory. From Uruguay in 1930 to Qatar in 2022, every FIFA World Cup has started the same way. One goal, one moment, one match day, setting the entire tournament in motion and marking the true beginning of football's greatest event. As the 2026 World Cup is getting close, who do you think would score the opening goal? Drop your predictions in the comment section.